Again, good morning and welcome everyone. And I would like to, on behalf of Temple Buddhist Center and all of our Sangha, wish each and every one of you a very peaceful and heartfelt Memorial Day as we honor those servicemen and women who have given their lives in service to our country. And so it's important to simply take a conscious moment and cultivate a sense of gratitude in our hearts. It's not a thinking, it's not an intellectual happening or event. It's a feeling within our heart of gratitude for those who have chosen to dedicate and give their lives in service to our country so that we might enjoy various freedoms. And so in honor of that, I would like to awaken the bell once more. So recently, I had a rather unpleasant experience involving my mother and the state of Kansas. And I have found myself ruminating on this. I have found myself with an energy charge around this topic. And as that began to sort of build, I had an unpleasant experience involving myself and the state of Missouri. And of course, this set my mind to wondering, and by the way, where is my stimulus check? And everyone that I've been talking with, they have all gotten their stimulus check. And so automatically, this has now set me at odds with the U.S. government. So as all this continued to fester and to snowball, believe it or not, my next falling out concerned the healthcare marketplace. All of this came to a boiling point. And this is where my practice kicked in. This is also a good example of how it is suffering that wakes us up. As this came to a boiling point and as my practice kicked in, I began to see the walls of the rabbit hole that I had dove into. And the first incident created an attachment to victimhood. I have been wronged. They can't do this to me. And once I began cultivating that energy and solidifying this identification to the victimhood, well, the state of Missouri and the U.S. government and even the healthcare marketplace were more than happy to oblige me. Oh, you're a victim? Okay. So they're going to go ahead and add into that. You see, if you have a chip on your shoulder, you will always find someone to knock it off over and over and over again. So for a moment in time, I became solid. I became someone. I became a thing, no longer a flowing, ever unfolding process. I became rigid and attached to an identity or even an outcome or even a belief and a viewpoint. And so there was no longer this energetic flow. No, I became an I, a me, and there was a mine. And then all of a sudden, in that moment, exploded right and wrong, praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure, pain, good, bad. In that moment, heaven and hell were set infinitely apart. Our practice challenges us in each and every moment to let go of our ego vision and to exist in harmony with everything, unfolding in each moment, realizing that we don't have a life, we are life, that we are a never-ending unfoldment of process. And we learn to acknowledge that our individual perceptions are inherently wrong. Nothing actually is as we perceive it to be, simply because we as humans tend to have a hard time experiencing things without attaching to them our own personal opinions, our past experiences. In other words, we don't see just a tree, we see a beautiful tree, or an ugly tree, or a tree that's blocking our view of the mountains, or a tree that needs to be trimmed. We don't see just a person, we see a screaming kid, or we see an old person who's moving too slow, or a coworker who's threatening our job, or an attractive person that we would like to meet. We don't just see a pile of dishes to wash, we see an unpleasant task, or we see all the enjoyable things that we could be doing instead of washing dishes. Or we feel anger or resentment towards the person who we think should have washed those dishes instead of us. Look at how this solidifies us. Look at how even now we are solidifying around who should be wearing a mask, when and where. Oh. People glaring at each other in the supermarket. Did you sanitize your hands? All of these. And we've been practicing this cultivating of shoulds and shouldn'ts, of who might and who might not, all of our lives. All the Buddhist traditions converge in this one point, in this one understanding of what liberates the mind. It is summed up very succinctly in one teaching. The Buddha said, "Nothing whatsoever shall be clung to as I, me, or mine." Whoever has heard this has heard all the teachings. Whoever practices this has practiced all the teachings. Whosoever realizes this has realized all the teachings, that nothing whatsoever shall be clung to, shall be attached to as I, me, or mine. So, how do we practice this non-attachment? We can begin with awareness, just seeing when we are clinging, when we are attached, is much of the work. Every time we come back to the breath, realizing that we have attached to a string of thoughts. Every time we return to the breath and practice this letting go, is a moment of celebration and is our practice of non-attachment. Sometimes many folks that I speak with think that meditation is about becoming calm. Meditation is about having a calm mind or being at ease. But on a much deeper level, the purpose of meditation is to let go clinging. It is to practice non-attachment. Because it is clinging to these viewpoints, clinging to these beliefs, clinging to these identifications with things that have brought up the agitated mind to begin with. And yet we seek calmness, we seek spaciousness, and still miss the point ever so slightly. What we're really doing is releasing attachment to every thought that bubbles up, to every sound, to every feeling, to each emotion that we experience. Because with that emotion is a blame to the person who put it there, is an attachment to the suffering itself. The Buddha was of tremendous help in this area. The Buddha helped point out to us that there are 4 kinds of clinging or attachment. The first type of attachment or clinging is to pleasant experiences. Oh, it's a little too hot, or it's a little too cold. My back needs a cushion. Look at food and how food is such a pleasant experience. And of all of a sudden, if you get a hold of one food that's not pleasant, there's an aversion to that food. Look at how pleasurable it is to figure something out. So then the mind spends all this time in figuring out a Rubik's Cube. It feels so good to know. We get this hit. Look at the pleasantness with attaching to material things. Again and again. And it's not that there is a problem with having pleasant experiences. No, not at all. Those are a wonderful part of our lives. But when we make it the focal point of our lives to accrue pleasant experiences, that is a basis for tremendous frustration and tremendous suffering, because those pleasant experiences can never fulfill the promise that they make of happiness. They are fleeting and momentary, and they are bound to something that comes and goes. And when it leaves, there is tremendous wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth. The Buddha also pointed out, number 2, that we attach and we cling to opinions, beliefs, and to viewpoints. This causes us tremendous suffering, because this is all about how things should be, or those experiences that shouldn't have happened, to the way people should be behaving, the way they should think. Our environment, what's happening at work, what should be happening at work, what's not happening at work, the government, how it should be behaving, how it should not be behaving. The list is endless. Take your pick. There is always something that we think should be different than the way it is. And there is born tremendous suffering. We're not in the flow of life. We're not in the unfolding of this moment. Anytime we think that there should or shouldn't be, that is a denial of reality. It is wishing things to be other than the way they are. Another aspect of this is status. How certain things help to elevate us and bring us a sense of status. How we are better than. better off than, we have more, or negative status, not worthy of this job, not worthy of this partner, not worthy of these things, don't deserve. Status goes both ways, and in both ways it is clinging or attached to a belief. The third thing on the Buddha's list of ways that we attach and cling is to rules, rituals, ceremonies, right way, wrong way. So often I hear people who are like, oh, I didn't get a chance to meditate today. My whole day is ruined. So it is this practice of getting into a routine, and the very second that that routine becomes disturbed, everything falls apart. Did you have a bad day, or just a bad 5 minutes that you milked the rest of the day? And number 4, the Buddha warned us against attachment to personality or self. And many a thick book has been written on this topic. Many week-long or even 30-day retreats have been based on this topic. This is one that causes us tremendous suffering in our lives. It is the moment that we take any experience and we think, this is happening to me. In other words, suddenly in this moment, life becomes personal. This kind of clinging causes great distress. If somebody is rude to us, well, that's actually their problem. But we can say, it is me that they have been rude to. I have become offended. They can't do this to me. And then all of a sudden, we begin seeing, the rich people or the people in authority or the government, all these people are oppressing us. To arms, to arms. Many wars and thousands of lives have been lost because there is this tremendous feeling that I have been done wrong. And we cling to that sense of this is happening to me. The Buddha said, whatever is not yours, let go of it. And your letting go of this will be to your long-term happiness and benefit. And so what is not yours? Well, the form is not yours. You didn't choose to be born. You didn't choose the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, the color of your skin. You're not doing the breathing. Just try and stop and see what happens. You pass out and start breathing again. You're not digesting. Very little of what's going on here are you doing. Next, he said the feelings are not yours. Feelings simply come and go. They arise and fall, and they are not who you are. Perception is not yours. It is conditioning over time. Mental formations, these thoughts are not yours. They simply come and go, rise and fall. The thoughts are all about getting pleasant experiences or avoiding pain. And consciousness is not yours. Letting go of all of that. These are known as the 5 aggregates of clinging to human form. Letting go of all of this and long-term happiness will be to your benefit. We can, each of us, experience liberation, freedom, and emptiness. Every time we give up our attachment, when we have a job to do, we simply do it without grumbling, without daydreaming and fantasizing about how good things could be if I only didn't have to do this one thing. without any sort of attachment whatsoever. When we meet a person, we simply meet a person without any judgment, without any first impression, without any thinking about what they might be thinking about. When we experience an emotion, we simply experience it, let it pass through, and just notice that. Where does that fear, where does that anger arise in this form, in this body? We do not hold on to it. We do not add any fuel to the fire. As I experienced all of this over the course of the past few days, and I sat on the cushion and I realized that I had clung to and was attached to all these feelings and these judgments and the blame and who was doing this to me, I released all of this and was able to let this talk come through me to share with Sangha about my practice. And the funny thing is, when I finished the talk and I checked the mail, there was my stimulus check. There are no coincidences. There is only the practice. There is only waking up.